I just wanted to talk to Travis about getting the game to market, because we're kind of talking about that point where you're ready to go. How early should game developers come and sort of talk to people like Surprise Attack, or thinking about the sort of marketing and the sort of audience for their game? Right at the beginning?
I think Trent hit it off. There's no hard and fast rule. Each game is sort of different, and each team is different. Their skill sets are different. I think it's up to the team to understand where are the gaps that they have within their team, and then going and finding the partners to fill those gaps. I would say, for Surprise Attack, we do marketing stuff, but that's only really one part of our business. We do a lot of strategic advice. We help provide information about the market itself. We write submissions for governments, for funding. Look, the easiest rule is as early as possible, but we usually find, we can work with people who have got a game who is ready to go and ship. It all comes down to what the team requires. And then we, as a company, we've tried to build out a team that can help a developer at any stage of their cycle, I guess. And that's been part of our mantra of our business, is to try to find areas that we can help indie developers. Some need marketing, some need design advice, some need help with writing applications to government, and we try to build out our team to fix all of those, or to help with all of those.
So the key thing is, if they come and talk to someone like you guys early on, they sort of get a roadmap for where they need to go.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys come to us with literally a written idea. They might have a prototype, and then we can help them essentially say, well, look, have you thought about X, Y, and Z? And then they literally just go off, and then we might not see them again for another 6 to 12 months, and then we come and help them right at the end as well. Some guy, Armello was sort of like that.
Yeah,
we spoke to you guys very...
That's very much how we worked with Surprise Attack. We came on board with those guys at the start, and it was just the expertise in regards to from the publishing sector and the marketing and advertising. They were just things that we didn't even think about. Like we're making a game with anthropomorphic animals, and it was like Chris said something to me. He's like, "Oh, we were talking about our target markets and people," and he's like, "Oh, and you'll get the furry community." I was like, "Furry community? Oh, whoa, fully, right?" So we even
Are there
had
those
no
people who
idea,
have
right?
sex in weird outfits?
Right. It's a lifestyle, right?
No comment. They're awesome. So we
no judgment.
It's super valuable to have that sort of, and that's how our relationship works with Surprise Attack a lot now, is that now, especially after it's been 3 years since I first spoke to Chris, and we're like, yeah, let's do something together. And now it's very much like, we have all the contacts we need, and we have, and everything. And then every now and then I'll just grab Chris as he's walking past, because we work in the same co-working space, and it's like, hey Chris, we're going to do this, what do you think, or blah, blah, blah. And it's just a very free-flowing thing, and it's mutual, yeah.
Yeah, so we work at any particular point that's required, but probably the easiest is, as soon as you have something working and you have an idea about what the project will be, and when you have a goal, then talk to a company. Just if it's just, we do 1 hour surgeries for people where they just come and we'll just chat to them about anything that they like for an hour, and that usually sets them off on the course that they need to go, and then we might not see them for ages, and then re-engage later on, or we work with guys all the way from day one all the way through to execution.
How do you, so obviously at that point you'd be interrogating the idea as to whether it's going to be competitive on the market. How do you know whether it's good, or how can you tell early on?
That's not up for us to really decide.
Or do you talk about the competitive marketplace?
Oh yeah, absolutely, right, and how to compete. So that's the advice that we give. It's obviously up to the developer whether they want to take it and run with it, but we provide advice just as the state of the market. It's a big deal for us, obviously, as a publisher, to understand where the market is moving, what the current status is, the games that we take on, how they're going to compete in those spaces. And we provide the same advice to anyone who comes and asks. But obviously how they take that advice is up to them. We don't sort of say, kill the game, but we would give advice about how the market is and how that might work. Where is the fun? Where is the fun in the game?
Fit the furry market. That's understanding that there's
a
niche audience out there.
I'd just like to say that was my business partner, not me, who knew about the furry market.
Who has the intense knowledge.
Yeah, that's right.
I sort of just want to take it back, just to sort of sum up as well, or just provide a fantastic case study for that thing, the fear of having to rush to market and stuff like that. Alexander Bruce, who released Antichamber, is one of the most successful independent releases in recent years. Melbourne developer, started developing that game as a 22-year-old tinkering around in his bedroom, probably even earlier. And when he released it, he was a 27-year-old tinkering around in his bedroom. And he'd traveled the world, won numerous awards, and released it, and it's now a multi-million-dollar game. Everyone, including myself, ashamedly, told him, what are you doing? You are nuts. Get it out. Epic want to publish it, blah, blah, blah. And he was just like, no. The game needs more time. It's all about, it needs to be right. It needs to be perfect. And when he released it, it damn near was perfect. And everyone saw it, and the game went crazy bananas. So and there are multiple case studies for this, especially so if you're in the independent scene. Like, it might be different in mobile or something like that. Not obviously content is king across the board, but especially so in the indie scene. It's like the content, the quality of execution is there, and that's what people really respect from their experiences, and you've got to invest in it.
Can I also say that there's a difference between spending a long time polishing your game and making it amazing and procrastination.
Yes.
So you do need to get your game out there. You do need to get it commercial, and you do need to be constantly thinking about when you're going to get it out there. But it has to be the best game that can be, and it has to be well polished. But there's a lot of people who will start in the industry, and there's a fear of release at some point because you're like, is anyone going to like this? Am I going to make any money? So it's really easy to keep working on something and never release it, because then you're never getting anyone else's opinion.
Even like I was saying, like those moments come where we've got to hit, like, and it might just be for a period to hit a particular milestone, but the rubber's got to hit the road, right? And even Alex had that. Like, it got towards the end, and like, because he had indie fund support and stuff, and it was like, all right, well, if I want to execute on all this stuff I've been working towards, I just need to finish this game and like get it out. And so then towards the end, it was just like, and sort of work towards it.
Can I also touch on the marketing? So with marketing, we've done all of our own marketing as a company. I'm not necessarily saying we're the best at it or are amazing at it, but we've had really good successes. We've built up really good relationships with Sony, Nintendo, and Microsoft, which is kind of part of the reason we're trying to move into a bit of the publishing space. But it's everything that other service providers and other companies do is doable by yourself. It's taking away, if it's not your core skill set, it's taking away from what you have to do every day. So if you're a programmer and you want to do marketing and you're good at it, great, go for your life. But it will take away from some of your programming or some of your art.
A lot of your programming.
Exactly. So, and that's fine. Lots of people can handle that, and lots of people want to do that and spend all the time. But that's why there are, I can go out to E3 and meet people at Sony and Nintendo and stuff on your behalf, and I'm going there anyway. So instead of you having to spend all that money and build up all those relationships, I can help you with that, or Surprise Stack, or whoever else. But you can do it yourself. So you just have to make the decision on what are the bits that are important to me that I handle, and do I want to handle it all, or do I want to go and start working with other people to share some of the burden?
It's so true. So, we even talk internally that, we're the publisher you don't need. And there's a reason for that self-publishing has essentially made it essentially okay for everyone and effective for everyone to do. It's just, do you want to? And we offer services that allow you to just focus on the game. We'll do everything else to the best of our ability, and hopefully we have success. But the self-publishing model now is pretty much, small teams can do it all themselves.
And it's hard. Like you say, it's a lot of work. Like, I would say, as the person that is like the spokesperson / PR guy for like Armello, and leads a lot of that stuff, and gets us in the press and everything, it's like easily 50% or more of my job. Like the amount of time that I actually get to do design stuff, like, is so minimal compared to and it's not even press, it's things like you're talking about, like platform and partner relationships is huge. The amount of time that you have to invest in that as an indie studio is massive. And I think it's as well, like, identifying your weaknesses too. Like, if you're not that type of person that can walk into GDC and just loiter around the press room and like snipe someone from PC Gamer, like the editor, and be like, hey man, look at my game, blah, 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 and then just pitch your game in 20 seconds and then follow up and keep up some nice witty rapport in the in the emails and get that article on PC Gamer, then maybe you should talk to No or to Surprise Attack and just offload that, because it is super important.
Holly, early on when you guys were, just starting out, and you were quite small, there's like 4 or 5 of you, and now you're up at 750 employees. How did you guys go about sort of, doing exactly what these guys are talking about, like finding where the gaps were and sort of hiring or partnering up or collaborating? What was the process for Kabam?
In terms of like how we went into markets.
So when you were like a little studio and you were kind of just starting out.
Yeah. So I will say our story is a little unique and a lot different. There was actually a follow-up question on this on Twitter in terms of how do you get any of this kind of know if you have traction. I think that's ultimately the question is am I polishing a turd or not? And some of the really cheap ways of doing that is we actually used to do this thing called beers and pizza, where we would bring in our friends and family and to take a look at our product and say, does this make sense or not? And kind of just get another pair of eyes. And even culturally, the nicest thing about that is I would make everybody be a part of that in terms of on the team. So engineers had to observe somebody from the outside, try to use the product, hear the feedback, so that, every single time we would have a debrief around it, these engineers would stay super, super late they were just truly, truly engaged and really wanted to fix the product. So that's one way where we kind of got some really, really cheap validation. The other way is kind of cheaper markets. So this is definitely a tactic that a lot of mobile gaming companies do. They release in Canada as well as Australia. I guess when you're in Australia, where do you guys release to? Maybe you guys go to Canada. There could be even cheaper ones where you release a version that might be, an earlier version that's localized somewhere in Spanish of some sorts. But for us early on, that's how we, when we're just first starting out with 4 or 5 with one of our earlier products, that's how we would get kind of validation. We definitely have always been a little bit on the performance marketing side, where we would reserve some dollars for marketing to see unaided how was the traction. So I would try to recommend that when you're putting that in your business model, one of the things you should think about is the marketing plan. And word of mouth is not a really good marketing plan. It's not a marketing plan at all. So really, you should really think about, okay, who is that? And then certainly partnerships. So once we got into Facebook, one of the things that we did was do partnerships, kind of what we call ad swaps with a lot of people. Actually, early on, I know Pinkas actually approached us when we were super small at 30. So it was really fun kind of when it's a lot smaller, because you just never know what's going to happen in the future. We did some partnerships, particularly with our what we call Addicted to Simpsons application on Facebook. And then that Facebook itself had some inherent viral channels, which was really, really good for us. So in some ways, I know you hate to use the word luck, I heard in the intro, but we were quite lucky there. If those aren't there, then you should really think about your product. If you can make some viral loops, make it engaging, make it so that the word of mouth piece of things are so easy to tell their friends. I'm just so shocked how many of our games, and just in general on iOS and Android, don't really, really do that very well yet. So I think that there's a lot of room for innovation. Apple, unfortunately, has a lockdown on the store. So a lot of that is kind of a lot of partnership. And I know somebody on the panel has just said, it just may not make sense to just get us to where we need to be. And at that point, I would probably encourage a lot of partnerships, because there are people, there are many people, many developers on iOS like that would be the approach I would take. Unfortunately, I'm not at that size now. So we put a lot of thought into not only marketing, but also we have a whole business development team that builds relationships with Apple and such.
Cool, thank you.